Tim Petrowich for Dateline Marion, and it's time again for our weekly visit with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. And Coach, it's week 9. The season has flown by, and when we started this season, we always worried about, are we going to get a whole season in? Is something going to happen? Anything? And the Wildcats have been quite fortunate in that respect. And now all of a sudden, here's week 9, and you're heading into the end of the regular season.
Yeah, when you're working 7 days a week and you really don't have a chance to mourn a loss or celebrate a win very long, and you just go back to work because that's the nature of football season. It tends to make it go faster because Monday rolls around, you do this on Monday, and then Tuesday rolls around. That's a Tuesday practice schedule. It's and you get into this routine where you team meals on Thursday and game on Friday and film on Saturday, and this routine begins to just roll, and it just kind of goes week after week. And homecoming week is a bit of a change because there's a lot of different stuff that week, and both good and bad. But then you go right back to the routine, week 8, and here we are, week 9, and we're in the middle of that routine right now, and so it does go fast, Tim. We talk. You and I've talked about this for over 10 years now, and it really does, and it's amazing. And we try to tell the kids to appreciate every moment because it will go really quickly.
Yeah, well, and the time between seasons goes fast too, and it even went faster this year because the season was in the spring and then it came in the fall and it came right away. So there's been a lot of football for these kids in the last several months.
Yeah, the last 6 months we played 15 games and hopefully we're going to play more than that. But it's just you're right about that. It's not much change from the season in the spring. Very, very short break, and then back at it again for 9 weeks, and thank goodness for our 10th week for sure.
Well, week 8 was a very interesting week in its own. First time all season that weather has played a part in a football game. There was a delay, there was rain, there was wind, it was colder than normal. It was actually football weather on Friday night against Carbondale, and it seemed like the Wildcats really relished that. The 41-8 win, and the game really wasn't that close.
We try to tell the kids, we try to train the brain for a lot of things, and part of what we talk about a lot is adversity. Adverse weather conditions, penalties, rain delays, or any kind of delay, games getting rescheduled from a Friday to a Saturday. We want to be the team that handles that adversity well and responds to it appropriately. And of course, we cite historical examples and teams that have done it in situations so that they understand this is doable, this is done by other people, it's been done by people, and we need to make that part of who we are. And I was real proud of the kids. We faced, as you said, inclement weather and a rain delay, but boy, they didn't act like they let that distract them in any way from the game plan, and they went out and performed really well for us.
You were playing a team that had the upper hand in the conference standings when you went in. Carbondale was undefeated in conference play. You had the one loss. You had to win to get a share of the conference title. It puts a little bit of pressure on you, but at the same time, they responded, and they really kind of flipped that and put the pressure on Carbondale and took the Terriers out of the game early.
Yeah, and I think that's, obviously that's a huge deal when you get some turnovers early and you get a couple of scores, one on defense, one on special teams, and good field position, helped all night long. But the defense played one of, if not their best game, I thought, against an offensive team that had some weapons, and they do have weapons. Bowlby's been a good quarterback all year. His numbers were good. Tailback is still one of the best running backs we will face all year. And so for our guys to step up and play as well as they did, I was really proud of the job they did and the preparation that our defensive coaches went into. And then to see the kids execute the game plan. That's one of the great things about coaching is having a game plan. And this is how you hope it will look on the field. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it kind of does. And it looked like what Coach Dunning wanted it to look like. So, and the offense, I don't think had a great night. Weather conditions may have hampered a few things a little bit passing the ball, but we did what we had to do to put points on the board and got the field goal to get to the 40-point rule, and I was proud of the effort.
You talk about the defense, and I want to mention that. And there were just so many plays that you can point to, and a couple in particular, a couple of times short passes, screen passes where your guys played their assignment and stayed home. And, here's a pass that a lot of times you see goes for 8, 10, 12 yards and it's -3, -5. Then another one, you talked about the running back, Gabe Hilliard, who 850 yards coming into the game rushing, and he was held to 55. Most of those came in the fourth quarter against the second defense. And there was one play where he got the ball on a sweep and running away from the interior line and was caught from behind by Maurice Marvin in the backfield. And, just that kind of effort all night long by the defense.
Yeah, and Maurice has done that to a lot of people this year, quarterback scrambling and so forth, but to do it to Gabe Hilliard is a huge deal.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And that's one of those, you put that back in the back of your mind and talk about college recruiting, and you say,
right,
I got to make sure they know about this play because it was special. Talon Hance came off the ball one time and got blocked, spun off the block and tackled the screen pass to his left, which was a remarkable play. Brody picked up the fumble. Jordan Beverly picked up a fumble. Our special teams coverage, which was really bad against Carbondale a year ago, even though we won both games, was much better. And that's Coach Schulmeister stressed a lot of things all week, and they executed those. I think the big thing, though, you mentioned it, you alluded to it earlier, is we did really well on first down on defense, and that put Carbondale in situations where Gabe wasn't as big a factor.
Right.
Because if you're great on first down, you start to dictate to the offense what they can run or what they have to run on second and third down. And so being good on first down, our defense was a game changer.
I felt like there was no time in the game really where Carbondale was able to get momentum, and there were times when they could have. Your first drive, they stopped you on downs.
Right.
Kind of a controversial situation where they stopped you on downs. It was 3 and out. They netted 3 yards. You get a punt return into good field position. You run down there and score, and that just precipitated 2 scores in 6 seconds. And with the fumble return by Jordan Beverly on the kickoff, and it just seemed like any time there was any chance for Carbondale to grab a little bit of momentum, you were able to take that away from them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's, people often wonder why 2 good teams play each other and the score gets out of hand. But when you study football, as long as I have, it's not that uncommon because of just what you said. You get a stop, you get a good punt return, you get a fumble recovery, you get another fumble recovery. Next thing you know, now the team is down 21, 24 points, and all of a sudden their game plan that they wanted to use and they're good with is out the window. And they've got to do a whole bunch of other stuff that may not be their strength. That adds to their dilemma even more, because if they're not as good at those things as they are when they can run the ball more or whatever, it just leads to more mistakes by their offense. And I've been in that situation, so I'm not just judging them. I know. The games can spiral if you continue to try to get back in the game and you deviate from your game plan because you have to. Games can spin out of control and scores can look a lot worse. On last Friday, we're better than Carbondale. I don't know if we're that much better, but we were on that Friday night, and sometimes that's just how you have to look at it.
You talked about the offense. There was only less than 300 yards offense, which I think is your lowest total of the season, except maybe the Cahokia game.
Right.
But again, short fields. We talked about the kind of a player that Vincent Newsom is. We talked about this with print media after the game on Friday.
Right.
He only had 1 catch, but he flipped the field 3 times on punt returns.
Exactly.
That gave you the short fields to work with. And so, plays like that. Jake Bruce with a couple of interceptions on Friday night. And, those kind of plays that gave you good field position so the offense didn't have to be that good.
Yeah, you take 2 starting wide receivers like Jake and Vince, and they, didn't get a lot of catches on Friday, but they bounce back and do things on another side of the ball, special teams or defense, that matter. And I've been bragging all year about Vince's ability to transform into a complete football player, not just a good wide receiver, and that was a great example. I mean, his job became, I'm just going to return punts and do a great job and play defense, and I'll be a decoy and try to pull as many guys out of the box as I can. They want to cover me, those are just the kinds of things that allow you to be a good football team when you've got guys that are sacrificial, willing to do the little things, the things that aren't always in the statistics, but just go out and help the football team win.
Talk about a share of the conference championship. That's something that we haven't really alluded to much in this particular discussion, but that's the 10th one officially, and I guess if you count the spring, unofficially 11 conference championships, either outright or shared. A pretty big deal. A lot of them have come in the last 18 years.
Yeah, we have prided ourselves in making sure that's a goal every year because we're proud of our conference. Our conference traditionally has put out some really strong football teams that have been very good outside the conference, teams that are very good in the playoffs, and when you win the South 7 Conference, it means something because I think when you look at teams, the history of Althoff, the history of Cahokia, and now the history of Marion, and Carbondale's had some outstanding football teams. I can go back when I started coaching in the John Helmick era, Jim Lovin era before that. There were some great football teams. Mount Vernon under Brad Pancoast and Dan Mings had some great teams, and Centray under Ray Calling and other coaches. And so you look at this and you see this history of really good football teams. So yeah, we're proud of those South 7 championships. Share, outright, whatever. It was something that has eluded this school a lot prior to 2001, 2000, and we've gotten a fair share of those in the last few years. And when we didn't win it, oftentimes, Tim, we were in second or third place, knocking on the door. So it's good to be competitive year after year. It's good to have a chance to win those things, and we're pretty proud of that. So, and I say that mainly because we're very proud of our conference.
So we wrap up the regular season this Friday night. Hard to believe that we're already there.
Yep. But
it's the end of the regular season. It's senior night. It's a non-conference game against an opponent that we've discussed before we started this. It's kind of hard to figure out in Mattoon. Talk a little bit about Mattoon because we know they've got a really good quarterback who kind of runs their offense. He's got 1,300 passing yards. He's their second leading rusher. They've got some other players. And they've been a team that has been close in all of their games, win or lose. They come in at 3-5, but every game has been close, and they played some pretty good opponents too.
I think the number one thing, the reason they're in every game and they rarely ever get blown out of a game is because of their head coach. I think their coach is an outstanding football coach. This will be his last game before he retires. And Coach Troy Johnson is a guy I respect a lot. We've had some great battles over the years.
Yeah.
We've had some wild games. A few games against Mattoon were before he took the head coaching job, but some of them have been when he's been there. And we've had some shootouts and some wild finishes, and so I have a lot of respect for him. And I think that's why, because when you watch them on film, it took about 3 clips for me to say, wow, you can see the technique, you can see the well coached. You can see the things that they're doing on the film that kids don't do unless they're doing the fundamentals and the techniques every day. And so I think that's the first thing I noticed. Well-coached football team. They don't make a lot of mistakes to hurt themselves. They're going to make you beat them.
And you look at their opponents on their schedule. They played Triad. They lost first game of the season, lost by just a couple of scores.
Right.
They played a 7-1 7A school in Collinsville, lost by less than a touchdown.
Right.
Last week they played their undefeated conference champ, Muhammad Seymour, and only lost 18-0. So again, even in their losses, the games have been some tough opponents, and they've been really close. They lost one game by 1 point.
I agree, and that's those are the things you share with your players that you and I have talked all year long about records can be deceiving because it's not just your record; it's about who you've played to get that record and how close were those losses and who did you beat. And I see a lot of things within their 3-5 record that tell me that this is a much better football team than their record. You and I know that a play here, a play there, they're 5-3 and they're looking at the playoffs. So, it's going to take a really strong effort from us. As we, once again, we can't let off the gas. We can't do anything different than what we've been doing. Because if we do, we're going to be in trouble. I like the quarterback. Got a really good receiver. They've got a big running back. They've got some really good players on defense, and well coached. And I'm sure they're going to play inspired for the last game of their coach's career.
So that being said, one of the things you always talk about too is when you're playing a team that you should beat, if you let them hang around and let them stay close, they have that confidence. They've been close in a lot of their games. They have that confidence that they can maybe sneak up and bite you. So I'm sure one of the goals is to jump out early and kind of get them down a little bit.
Yeah, you hope so. You don't want them to have the momentum, especially. But I will tell you this, that I'm glad this is a home game. We got into a tussle with them in 2018 and found ourselves in trouble and didn't make any plays in the second half. But I'm glad this is a home game. I think that helps us some in our preparation and our motivation, our home fans and our home atmosphere. But it'll take some really good execution. And you're right, we need to get off to an early start and get out on them.
It's senior night, and maybe I think it's a bigger senior class than you've had in past years. So a lot of players that are going to play here, and so it makes it important to get them another win so that you can guarantee them at least one more home game at the end of the year.
That's a great point. 20 seniors. It's a big group, and it's a really good group. They've been a part of a lot of wins here. Their sophomore year, we were 8-3. They're or 8-2, I believe, 8-2. 6-0 in the spring. Got a chance. We're 7-1 right now, and they've won a lot of ball games, and they want to win a lot more. So we owe this class a lot. We honor them in a little pregame ceremony in the cafeteria every year. We got to start early this year because we got 20 seniors to honor instead of 6 or 7. But yeah, it's a big group. It's a talented group. It's a group that really cares about each other. It's a group that's left a great legacy here for our younger kids to see and understand what the expectations are. So I'm really proud of this group. I've had part of the reason I came back after the 2019 school year, 2020 school year, was I just really wanted to coach this group. And I told them that outright. Part of the reason I'm back is some unfinished business personally, but also I wanted to coach this group. And so it's a special group, and I'm blessed every time I get to take the field with them.
And not only that, but this special group is going to play in an atmosphere Friday night that as the season has gone on, and I've watched other games in other locations, is probably second to none in Southern Illinois.
Well, our last game against Centralia here was special. I mean, we had a legitimate wave that was going on. It was legit too. It was good. So the Maniacs are as good as they've ever been. Our band and dance and cheerleaders, and we just have an amazing atmosphere. It is high class. It's Ryan Gadiski and all those involved do a great job of coordinating all of it, and it makes it fun to play here. I think our opponents really enjoy playing here too. I think it gets them fired up too. So that's the only downside to it, because it does. It's electric, and I think sometimes our opponents feed off an atmosphere that maybe they don't have at their home field, but it's special.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. Friday night, 7 o'clock, last game of the regular season. And a win will give the Wildcats another home game in the playoffs, more than likely. So we're going for that. That's Marion head football coach Kerry Martin for Dateline Marion. I'm Tim Petrowich.